All right, what's going on YouTube? Today we're gonna take a look at the Audi brake system. This is vehicle specific, but it's for any brake system for any car on how to properly maintain, what to look for, and things like that. Today we're gonna just be working on my Audi, so you pay attention, you learn some things. Also, don't be afraid to do your own maintenance. And also give a custom look. See how I did that? Things look good. All right, so step one, you want to properly lift your vehicle and get your wheels off. Find your certain jack points under the vehicle, as well as the front, the back, maybe in the middle side, the frame and everything, so you get all your wheels off and start inspecting everything. Next, you want to inspect your rotors and pads, as well as your fluid. Make sure you have no leaks. Check your rotors for crack damage, also your calipers as well, abnormal wear. See how your pads are, check the sensors, just check anything and make sure everything still looks kind of normal. If anything's abnormal or just out of shape, you might want to look into another type of repair, unfortunately. But if everything looks good, you can proceed with just swapping the equipment that you bought, your pads and your rotors, as well as your brake fluid, flush at the end of the day. So we'll proceed with that. So first things first on this Audi, now that we got the wheels off, I want to go ahead and look to see what to start first. Starting first, I see the clamps on the pads themselves, on the caliper itself. So I'll go ahead and get that off. Next, I'm gonna crack the T30 bolt on the rotor in order to get the secure bolt on the rotor. Now this bolt here just holds the rotor on the actual hub itself, so it don't go anywhere when you're swapping it. So I'm gonna just crack it loose just to make sure it comes loose. Next, I go behind the wheel, reach for the 13mm bolts behind the caliper, as you see right here, top and bottom. Now, once I get those loosened, then I can go ahead and loosen up the brake line at the top with the 11mm wrench open end. So once that's loose, get you a drain pan, because you will leak brake fluid. Slide your drain pan right under it. After you got your drain pan right under, you can proceed to unscrew it. As you unscrew it, just be mindful, watch the threads, watch for debris and everything else that comes with it. So on that note, we'll proceed back to the caliper. Now, once the brake line's released on this car specifically, you can take the caliper off and pull it off. Now, the back of the caliper is the line screws into the caliper, so it's not like one bolt. The line actually screws in, as you see. You have to unscrew it, take it off, and watch the sensor as well. Unplug the sensor. So watch the sensor as well when you unplug it. And once you unscrew it, take it off. Now you have your caliper off. Now you can just proceed to removing the bracket itself, the bracket assembly. Once you look behind, spray some WD-40. These bolts are torqued to 74 foot-pounds, so they're gonna be kind of hard to get off with a standard ratchet. You can use a small breaker bar in advance. So you'll break those off with a 21mm socket. Once you get the bracket off, now the front rotor assembly will come off as well. So essentially, you have the front, you have to repeat the other side, but you have the front down and done. So you can sit there for now and just wait till you get your other equipment, or go right back on with it. All right, now we're gonna move on to the back. Now, gratefully, the back is kind of similar. You have your two 13mm at the top on your caliper itself. Use your 15mm open end to hold that bracket. I call it the slide bolt. You can hold that and loosen up your 13mm in the back. Be mindful when you take these the bracket bolts off. Once you get the caliper off and the brake line loose, the top and bottom ones are two different sizes. The top one's longer than the actual bottom. So just be mindful of that. Pay close attention and make sure you go back with it. I think it only goes back on one way, but you want to pay close attention to it. So once you got that off, same thing, crack your T30 loose. And once you crack your T30 loose, your rotor assembly come off, as well as with the bracket. So front and back, repeat it on the other side, and you pretty much done. Other than that, you're gonna watch how I get a custom look to mine, as well as get these emblems put on and make sure they stay there. I went with a decent set of parts for this: rotors, calipers, brake lines are Stop Tech all the way around. The rotors, I got two different manufacturers. Unfortunately, I had to get this done because the brake light comes on in here. That means you're pretty much out of luck. It's time to change it right now. You probably got like a millimeter left. So With that said, I managed to find two good reputable sources, Detroit Axle and the other's Performance brand for the back. So they seem to work good with each other. So pads, both carbon ceramic, as well as the rollers, highly machined, drilled and slotted for extra cooling and extra cleanliness. So and they also give it that better look. So the pads here, interior parts was all fine. Brake fluid, B8.5. So everything worked out just well on that note. Also, once you get the caliper off in the back, this vehicle is equipped with electronic parking brakes. So you want to be careful to understand how to disconnect and remove them from the caliper itself. Now this can be a bit challenging, but at the same time, it's easier done than actually going to the dealership and having the computer control. I can show you a hack on how to reset these, and I can put a link in the video on how to reset the parking brake so you can compress the piston. See, me, on the other hand, if you take a look here, I had to end up rebuilding my caliper because the parking brake had overextended. Luckily, it's pretty simple on how to rebuild these, not too hard at all. So I'll show a brief clip of that at the end of this video. But besides that, get the caliper off, remove the parking brake. Once you remove the parking brake, now you have all the bare metal exposed. So, all right, so now we're gonna go into detail on how I got this distinguished look on my brake caliper and how you can as well. For starters, cleaning this is gonna be the best procedure in this whole, most important thing about this whole process. Using a wire brush, some brake cleaner, a few solvents and everything. You want to get these calipers as clean as possible. Not gonna be spotless, but they're gonna be clean to where when you spray your paint on there, all the metal make it sticks. So that's part one. Part two, if you can take a look here, make sure everything you did assemble off of it. Luckily, these was all disassembled already, so I was able to prepare myself, clean it. Then I was able to go over with a tack cloth with some alcohol. So as you see here, I'm painting in my garage, hanging from a shelf, whether it's on the ground, shelf. You go over it with a certain type of paint. See, this certain type of paint, engine enamel or brake caliper paint has ceramic in it. So the hotter it gets, the harder it is. So and the longer it lasts in general. But for one, once you tack the paint on there, I was able to tack the paint, spray it, a couple of coats, let it flash dry, another 2 coats on each of the parts, let it dry. Now for my calipers, I went with 3 coats total of the actual paint. Then for me, knowing it's vinyl, normally vinyl doesn't stick to the caliper like that, so I had to let that flash dry for a minute before I pressed the vinyl sticker on. Once I pressed the vinyl sticker on there, I had to think of a way that was gonna actually make it stick without actually peeling off once it's after a while. So I just went back over it with 2 or 3 coats of gloss clear. Now that gloss clear, same thing, engine enamel, ceramic. So once the hotter it gets, the harder it is at the end of the day. So that's really how I got this certain look I got for this car. I just figured it needs something different since I was going to do the whole system anyway. So take notes on that. Watch the video, like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Support the brand, the shirts. I'm a mechanic. Yeah, I just make it work. So satisfied at the end of the day. This is gonna be the video to show you how to reset your parking brakes on a German vehicle, Audi's B8s, for example. If you don't have the electronics to do it or the computer, so you can reset it without the computer. That way you can replace your brake pads. So for starters, parking brake, 1 bolt here and 1 at the bottom. So we're gonna remove these 2 in the connector. I'm gonna show you how. T30. Both bolts off. And you can remove it. See, when you remove it. Now you can leave it on the car. Now what you do is, after that, if you take a look, take your T60 and it fits right in. And these are reverse thread. So to tighten, you come off, to tighten, you go loose. So for instance, reinstall.